Okay, good afternoon everybody. My name is Johan Hoffman. I'm a program manager in the manufacturing team. And with me today I have Mirza Abdish. He's a program manager in the inventory management team. Today we are going to talk about how the new warehouse management capabilities that we deliver with R3 integrate with production warehousing processes. And first, we'll have to show you the disclaimer. I don't want to read that. You've seen it. So what we're going to talk into today is a speaker production scenario. So we have kind of outlined a very simple end-to-end scenario how to manufacture a speaker and how the warehouse processes work around this manufacturing process. So here we have the production flow, and the production flow consists of a lean work cell that manufactures a speaker receiver. And this speaker receiver is a component in the finished speaker. And then we have a discrete production process where we assemble the speaker. So from the lean work cell, we consume some items. You can see them from the inventory. So we pull 3 different components from the inventory and we bring them to the lean input locations. As you can see, these 3 items, M9201, 2 and 3, I also put in LP30, LP40, LP50. These numbers represent what we call a license plate, and that is equal to what you might know as a pallet. So these components are stored on a handling unit called the license plate. So these components are drawn into the lean work cell in order to assemble the speaker receiver. When we finish the speaker receiver, that is also where the production assembly consumes the speaker from, the same location. And in the production assembly process, we also consume 2 additional products, M9203 and 04. And then when the production order is finished, we'll put away the finished assembly to a location called LO101, is the finished goods warehouse. So with that said, I'll give it over to my good colleague Mirza, who will start the scenario here.
So hello everyone, my name is Mirza and I'm part of the warehousing team and was working on the acquisition from Bluehole Shoe. As you probably, most of you know, we have acquired the warehousing solution from the Bluehole Shoe. So for the last period of 1 year, we have been working on the lots of scenarios that have or have not been supported in order to show you something like this and something that you have seen in the other sessions. So just to learn a little bit about you, how many of you know about AX 2012 R2, let's say? How many of you know about warehousing, at least general terms? Oh, we have lots of warehousing experts, that's good. So now I know how much in depth I can go, so everything can be understood. So we are starting with the first scenario that we call material staging in production. As my colleague Johan was explaining, we will try to combine several scenarios in order to give you a picture how the warehousing, the new warehousing solution that you will meet in R3, is basically collaborating with the manufacturing functionality in order to execute or process the raw material picking in different ways. So the first way, it's the staging to lean work cell. This is for the lean manufacturing, so Kanban. That was the first part of what Johan was explaining, where we basically will produce an item that we later will use in assembly of our speaker. So here we were trying to explain that we have on the left side we have a warehouse, and you can agree with me, it's a very simplistic warehouse. I have only 3 locations, but for the demo it's fine. And these are the bulk locations, and in the middle we see the work cell input location. And in the new warehousing solution, we are assuming that manufacturing facility is nearby. So we are not shipping to manufacturing facility. Please note that. In the new WMS, we are moving goods from, in this case, warehousing bulk locations to our work cell input location. If we have a manufacturing in another site, then we will of course use transfer order or something else in order to transfer goods to that site and then consume them in the production facilities. So to understand the first way of how we can, let me just go back, move to a work cell input location, it's called staging, and what that means is that on the left side my bulk locations will, if I need only, let's say 20, that is in a part of my demo, and I, as a warehouse picker, if nothing needs to be found and consumed from the input location, then the new WMS solution can be set up through the waves, and we will come later to that. Waves, generation of work, and nevertheless usage of the barcode scanners that we are shipping out of box in order to move the items from the bulk locations into the input locations to be consumed in this lean manufacturing scenario. So the way we move, we are moving by the pallet, and in the new WMS, it's controlled by the license plate, which is the tagging mechanism of not only pallet, but whatever else you wish to tag. So when the warehouse worker is asked to move to the input location, so with the pick and put work, it will not only be moved by the demand quantity. We will move everything that is on that pallet, so license plate, like this. And then when we have moved, we will start consuming what we need in our demand. So this is the one way how we can achieve movement from the warehouse to a work cell input location. And for that, some things needs to be fulfilled. Warehouse locations needs to be set in the new WMS solution to be controlled with license plates or license plates enabled, which means that we are requiring whatever is stored on these locations to be tagged by the license plate. That could be a pallet. So pallet contains 100, and if I need 20 in my demand for the Kanban, I will move complete pallet. In my demo, you will see warehouse worker will be asked to scan license plate and will not be able to put quantity of 20. The complete license plate will be moved. And then you probably ask yourself, what happens if another Kanban has been scheduled and released? What will happen? And I have already moved the pallet. Basically, it will not necessarily create new movement. It will know that goods are already moved to an input location or are to be moved. So even in the movement on the forklift, the new demand will say, okay, I'm expecting that something is on the way to be moved to the input location, and it will deduct. When it hits the point that it needs more, new replenishment will be created with the new WMS. Okay? That's the one way of doing it. In my next demo, I will show you what is the other way of doing it. So, to explain this in more details, we have created a slide that gives you maybe more overview what's going on behind the scene. So we have a material demand, as you can see, in this case Kanban. And first what happens is that when it is released, it is asking, is it anything that I can consume from the input location? If yes, that will be consumed, and warehousing functionality will not do anything. But in the case that that's not possible, that we either do not have anything or we have only part quantity that we need, then we will go to the next level, which says new warehousing solution, and we see some new concepts that you probably have or have not heard about. What will happen? The new wave will be created. Creation of the waves, which is a known supply chain concept, it's in order to group the picking for, in this case, raw material picking, and also control when do we release for picking. So that's the concept of waves. We cannot go into details, but you are welcome to ask us after the session. When the waves have been created and the shipment lines assigned to the waves, the next step is creation of the work. In the new WMS, all goods are moved from one location to another using the generated work that can be utilized on the barcode scanner. So after the work creation and release to the warehouse floor, release step is basically giving ability for the warehouse worker or picker to scan the IDs of the work and start moving the pallets that I'm explaining to the input location. And that will happen in the next step. That work has been processed using the out-of-box that we ship out-of-box in R3 RF gun, or somebody calls it barcode scanner. And as you can see, even then, my goods will be moved into the same input location and then automatically consumed. When they are consumed, they will be in the status picked, and then basically warehousing does not have any visibility anymore where these goods in the production are. But in this red square you see there, which is an input location, that is also created as a location in the new warehousing solution, which means that warehouse manager at any time knows what is there right now, right here. So through the form called on-hand by location, we can see that. So now we will try to demonstrate this in this demo. So here, for you who are familiar with AX, you see the area page. And what I'm going to do, I will go to my favorites that I have prepared for the demo, and I have my Kanban schedule board. For this demo, we have already, we need to create, two Kanbans, and we will do that here. So, we have two new Kanbans, 61 and 62. And now we will go back to the Kanban scheduling board. And we can see that we have two unplanned Kanbans. And for you who know about Kanban functionality, I can drag and drop these two Kanbans in order to plan them. As soon as they are planned, they will be released. They will try to reserve from the input location. If not possible, they will be released to the warehouse in order to go through the waves and generate replenishment of the raw material. So now I will be moving them here. And we are getting the message here as a planner that my wave has been created, which gives me also indication that my input location did not contain needed demand. And I can proceed with my second. It's here. And it did exactly the same. So I have two Kanbans that have generated demand against warehousing functionality. So we go now back to the warehousing functionality and look what is in these waves. So we have an area page called Kanban Waves. And now I'm looking into the overview of the new warehousing functionality, and I can see that I have two waves with the Kanban 61 and Kanban, let me just refresh. 61 and 59. And what I can do now, I can process, so in this case my wave templates have been set up not to process automatically, so my work is not created yet. So I'm doing this manually, but I could of course automatize these steps. So now we can see that work has been created, which means that goods have been allocated through our new workflow in the warehousing solution that can automatize all allocation from different places, etc. And that wave has been posted. So now we can basically go and look what work we have generated. And we can see that we are picking 3 of the needed items that you have seen my colleague Johan was explaining in the beginning that we need for our Kanban. And as you can see, the quantity is 20. But because we are running license plate control locations, we will be moving everything that is on these license plates. So for this, I will start RF device. Yeah. So this was our Kanban 61, and we will release. Releasing step is the step that makes work available for the warehouse employees to start processing the work on the barcode scanners. So we are releasing, and now we are ready to log into our barcode scanner. There it is. And this is how the menu looks like. It's very flexible, as you have seen probably in this morning warehousing session. It can be defined as you wish. So for our picking, now I'm in the role of the warehouse clerk or warehouse picker. So I'm going to production. Sorry, I need to go to my production. And then what I'm doing, I'm picking for Kanbans. It's a Kanban picking. And I need to have a work ID. And from my wave, I can see my work ID, and I'm not so good in remembering large numbers, so I will copy-paste. Normally, we can scan this, and we have also ability to serve automatically the work number to the employee. We don't need to scan. So here we go. And it says that I need a LP, which means that now I'm basically asked to be on the location and scan the LP license plate that could be on the pallet that I'm moving. And we see the quantity is 20, but I don't have possibility to change the quantity. So I will need to move complete pallet or whatever it's on that license plate. So I know that it's called LP30. Normally, we will be scanning that. And now we are scanning the other item because we are moving same time, everything. It's a LP40, another license plate. And the last one, it's called LP50. So what I have done now, I have basically physically went to the locations, I scanned my license plate, I have these 3 items that are part of my BOM demand, and now I'm asked, as you can see on my RF scanner or mobile device, to basically drive and put this into the input location for the Kanban. And from there, it will be automatically consumed and set as picked. So that's basically where the warehousing part does not have link anymore. So let's confirm that. And now we are basically done. So what next step? We just need to go quickly back. So now, after we have produced our receiver that will later be used in the assembly, the production order, we're also using the mobile device to report as finished and put away. And we have set up our warehousing solution when we do report as finished from the Kanban using mobile device. That could be a production operator. Then we will be asked to move that into the input location for the next step, which is the assembly of our speaker. So what we will end with, we will have an item moved to a new input location for the new manufacturing process that needs 3 items, but 1 will be moved directly there from the Kanban process, and 2, as Johan was explaining, will be picked from the warehouse. So let's finish the part of report as finished of our Kanban and putting away to the new process. This is the illustrated here, what we are going to do. Basically now, after our work cell Kanban is done, then we can use RM into that location. So we are again utilizing our scanner, barcode scanner. So we will go to the Kanban receipt and put away. And we are asked about Kanban number. And if I recall correctly, it was called 000-561. I hope. And I can see here that I need a quantity, and we have been, as you remember, the Kanban we produced or created was for 20. So I'm reporting as finished 20. That was also my demand. I moved, even that I moved the whole pallet, consumption was 20. And I will say, okay here, my license plate is automatically generated. This is just to show you that license plate do not need to be labeled and scanned. We can also auto-generate license plate, as in this case. And that can be attached to any scanning and put away process of the scanning device. So we will confirm, and then we are asked to put this away to the location 002, which is our new input location for the another manufacturing process. This was our assembly of the speaker. And we can always go into the on-hand by location form and see that in the warehouse 51, as I said, our input locations as well represented because of the full visibility as the locations from the warehousing perspective. And if we are going to the location 002, we will be able that we have now speaker driver and we have 20 that our Kanban has produced.
You can maybe also show that on 001 you have actually all the pallets there.
Yes, and on the 001, we remember that we have we have been asked that we have a demand of 20, but because of the license plate control locations and the staging process where we basically continuously moving the complete quantities and auto-deducting, we can see that it has been auto-deducted 20 of each of 3 items I have been using in my lean manufacturing. And what is left, it's 1980 of each of them. So if I now start producing new Kanbans, which you normally do, it will not create new wave and it will not create new demand because I have a lot, as you can see, there. As soon as one is missing, new replenishment for the warehousing is generated. Okay? So now we are moving a little bit further, and it's a new way of picking raw material that we want to demonstrate here. We could use the same as we used for the Kanban, so it's basically up to you as a customer to choose what it suits your organization. But pick to order, it's a little bit different. We are not running locations in the warehouse where we are picking from. Concept, it's basically the same. As you can see, we have a resource group input location, as well defined as a physical location in the warehousing structure. And on the left, we have some bulk locations, but here they are not license plate controlled, which means that on the location that I have set up in the warehousing says you don't need to have license plate, or you can't, basically, on these locations, so it's just location and items. And if I have that kind of setup, what will happen is when I have a demand, in this case from the assembly line, to assemble my speaker, I will only be moving what I need. You can set up that as you wish. So do not misunderstand that the process of moving complete pallets was only for the Kanban. It's not. It's just in the demo that we want to show both. So then, from there, the amount moved will be consumed in exactly the same way and deducted as we have seen in the status picked, as we have seen in my previous sample for Kanban. So now we need to just go quickly further with the animation. And you see the last one just moved down. And this is just to illustrate that, of course, in the new WMS, we support full automatized way of replenishment of locations. So if my workflow was set to point always on the last locations and lots of my demands have emptied that location, I can set up in the new WMS automatic replenishment of that location. That will now create work to move items from another bulk aisle or whatever we have set up into this location. And if I have had a work against the empty location, I can set up that basically it's frozen or held back until my replenishment work has been conducted and processed. Oh, and then, sorry, it seems that, hello? And then when the replenishment work is done, then we again will be able to use our picking and put work, so raw material picking for production. So just to illustrate that replenishment, of course, it's supported. So pick to order was the one that we are moving only what we need out of demand to our input location and not complete quantities as you have seen on the pallets or license plate. And for that, there are some needs in the setup. So only production material demand quantities are picked, and warehousing picking locations are not license plate controlled. So now we are moving a little bit in our scenario. We have done with the first that you have seen, we have moved 3 license plates LP 30, 40, and 50. We are done with our Kanban. And now we are going to start our speaker assembly. For that, I will create a new production order. I will estimate, release, as you know, and then we will see what will happen. What will happen is, I hope, that I will be consuming an item that came from the Kanban process. That was my speaker receiver, 20, that's what we produced. And the rest will be moved from the warehousing facility, as you can see there, and these are the items M9203 and M9204. So let's see how that works. So we are back in AX, and now we will do something slightly different. We will not deal with the Kanbans, we will deal with the production orders. And we are going to our production order list, and I will create new production order. And I know that item I want to produce or assemble, it's my speaker L0101. And suddenly we see that we have some predefined setup that says that our default order quantity is 20. And now we proceed, and my reservation happens on estimation step. So let's just create. And now we have a production order 188 that I will estimate. And I will release. In the step release, it's where we evaluate input location. And if nothing is there, and remember, I have only one of 3 BOM items, and that's the one that came from Kanban. The other 2 will need to be moved. So when I push release, it will estimate if something is or not on the input location, and that's what is not there will be, again, through the wave concept, work in the warehousing setup will be moved from the warehouse into the input location so we can continue with the assembly of our speaker. So let's try to do that. We are pushing release. And here we have a lot of information in the info log, and we see that our wave has been created. And if you look closely, the 2 items that have not been there have been waived and created work for. And in this flow, I have automatized creation of the work, just to show you that I don't need to do the same as I did with the Kanban, where I am processing my waves manually. I can do that, but in this scenario, I'm basically automatically processing wave and work together. So now already work is available to be processed on my scanner. So let's go to see how the waves look like now and work for this production order. We will go to our warehousing part, and we have a waves, production waves, and we have a wave here, and we see that it's exactly the correct production order. It's stated here, P000188, and what I can do here, I can see what work we have been generated, and you see we have generated work to move the 2 items that we are missing, and that's what we are going to do. So for that, I will just quickly copy the work ID. I will go back to my barcode scanner, and instead of picking for Kanban, I will pick for my production order, so it's production pick. I'm asked to pick the item 9203-20, and I will say OK. And I'm also asked to pick in the same flow the item M9204. These are the 2 that have not been on the input location. And I'm asked to go to the 002. All of this is depending on the setup of your workflow in the warehousing solution, where you pick from and where you put to. So now we are putting into the location 002, exactly the same location where my Kanban process have put away these 20 of the receiver. So let's just confirm that. And now we will go back to our production order. And we will start it. In order to report as finished, we need to start the production order. So we are starting production. We have all materials needed in our input location that we have defined for this step. And we can see info here that everything is as it's supposed to be. And now I can again use my RF scanner or barcode scanner to report as finished my assembly production order here. And let's just do that. So report as finished and put away, and I'm asked for my production ID, and it was P000188. I don't have ability to scan here, I'm sorry, so I need to put in. And we can see that I'm reporting as finished 20, and remember I had 20 of each on my input location, so that's what I do. And I say Okay? And now system has looked into the space of the warehouse and said, okay, you have asked me to look in your picking locations. I could then find that in the serials of steps, and has identified that we can put away these finished goods into LP001. Let's just push OK here, and we are done. And then just for information and visibility purposes, we can see that our 001 location does not have these goods anymore. And we can now see that the pick 001 has the goods that we have just moved back. So this is basically various ways of picking of the raw material and also connecting the Kanban processes with the production processes and warehousing solution that will automatize through the workflow picking of the raw material, and all visibility is there through the waves and the work concept. So now we will switch back to PowerPoint. And now I will give the word to my colleague Johan, who will walk you through the batch orders.
Thank you very much, Mirza. Yeah, so we also included batch orders in this demo because the warehouse processes are also enabled for the batch orders that we introduced with RX 2012 for the process industry's capabilities that were added there. And there are some characteristics if we compare batch orders to normal production orders. First of all, batch orders is all about batch control. So we have the notion of the batch number. It can have an expiry date, and a batch order can have more than one product output. You can have co- and byproducts. And of course, we also want to manage those when we report these. So what we are going to look at in this small example is it's a production of pellets, plastic production. So we have 4 operations. We have some ingredients that we put into the process. And we have some production output, chips, blocks, of course the pellets, which is the main product, and a byproduct. So that is the example we are going to look at. This is not working. So just to give you some information how we enable these processes, what we are looking at here is the location directive. As Mirza also told you a little bit about, the location directive is actually the backbone of the warehouse solution. It is the place where you set up the rules that you want to imply. Where should I pick my items for a certain process, and where should I put the items? So you can see in this location directive, it has a work order type, raw material picking. So it's the location directive for my raw material picking. And we have 2 work types, a pick. So we will have to set up where to pick, and you can set up advanced queries to specify that. And we also set up a work type of where to put the items. You can see in the location directive actions section, I've also made a line here, a record here, where I indicated that it should be batch enabled. So we have actually two lines. One is not batch enabled, one is. So we can mix the formula lines with both batch enabled or batch controlled items and non-batch controlled items. So if you play with this, you will have to set this up in your location directive. Another central thing that we implemented is we changed in our reservation engine. We introduced something called an inventory reservation hierarchy. And those of you, and I saw that was pretty many, that are familiar with AX, in the old system, when we made a reservation, for example, from a sales order, we always made a reservation on all the dimensions down to the location, batch, serial number level. But with the introduction of the reservation hierarchy, we can actually set up the system not to go that deep. So we want to make a reservation in order to secure the stock for a customer or for a production order, but we don't want to go down to the location level. And what I want to show here, that we can also put the batch or the serial number below the location. So when we release to the warehouse, we don't know which batch number to pick. That will be determined when we actually pick the items. And in that case, we put the batch number below. But we can also have the batch number above location, and with that policy, we will let the system decide which batch number to pick. And that could be a scenario where you have an expiration date on batches, so you want to take the oldest batch first. So I prepared just a small scenario to show you how that works. So I'm going to change here. So I'm going to create a batch order. And I put up this item number called PW4000. I'm going to produce 100. And I also have estimation, a reservation at estimation time. I created it. And here we are, it's created. I'll go and estimate. And I'll do the release. And now, way and work has been created. It's the same as Mirza showed you for the normal production order. So now I'm going to execute the work. So I'll open my device. I'll log in. And then I will do my production picking. I need the work ID. So we will actually see the work that we have here that was generated. And it already found which locations to pick from. If we look closer at this pick 001 location for this item number, if we look closer at the on hand for that, I'll just filter on this location. We can actually see that we have two batches on this location. So we want to pick something, we put batch below in the reservation hierarchy. So with that policy, it will be up to the guy or girl who picks these products to specify which of these batches to pick. So I'll put in or scan the work ID. And as you can see here, that for this propylene, we need to specify a batch number. And I'll take B3. I could also have taken B1. And the other batch number, I'm not prompted for the other item. It's also batch controlled, but we only have one batch number on that location, and you can only pick that one, so no need to specify that. And then it's transferring it to the production input location, and then work is completed. I'll do the same as Mirza told us, to start the production order in order to put products into WIP. And that's it. The last thing I will do is now to report this batch order as finished. This batch order has a co-product, or two co-products, just to make it simple. So I'm going to report. Sorry. So I'll take my report as finished and put away. I'll put in my batch order number, and it's called B00080. And you can see in this case it does not put in the item ID because I have multiple item IDs or multiple product outputs, so I could take the main product first. And it fills out, and then it prompts me, this item is also batch controlled, so I have to specify which batch number I put in, also an expiration date. And then I reported my first one. I'll just have to put it away. And then it's actually ready for the next one, and then I could specify my co-product and then report that. So you can report whatever product output of the batch order that you want. So that just concluded this demo. So this was actually this actually ended our session of the demos. Just to sum up what we showed you how to stage license plate controlled items from our bulk location into the lean input location. Even though the demand was lower, we staged 2,000, we only consumed 20. We completed our Kanbans with the use of our RF devices, both the picking and also the report as finish or completion of the Kanban to a Kanban supermarket. We also saw how we picked from production, how we generated work when we released our production order, and how work was generated to pick the products from the warehouse. It didn't move work that was located on the production input location that came from the lean work cell. And Mirza also showed us how to report as finished and put away the items from the production. And then last, we also showed you how that was enabled for our batch orders.
So if any of you have any questions that should go deep than what you have seen, so please contact us after this session or arrange a meeting with us if you want to dig more into the warehousing part or more into the manufacturing alone or combined. So, and please rate, use a couple of minutes to rate this session.
Yeah, so yeah, tell us, give us feedback, and there's also some where you can learn more. And that concludes the demo, and we will open up for a few questions on the time we have left.
Yeah, the question is around, we heard a lot about the new reservation hierarchy. What we haven't heard yet is how does it handle FIFO? Is there any changes on how the new reservation hierarchy handles FIFO?
Could you please explain more the scenario that you...
Oh, FIFO usually was controlled either by batch or serial number. That was the usual FIFO driver. Yeah. Now so now the breaking point is the location. So I put the batch number or serial number below the breaking point. Does it still respect the FIFO, or how does it really work now?
Yes, but if you want to respect FIFO without utilizing the batch, we cannot do that.
Okay.
Next question, please.
When we pick it, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I think it was the gentleman at the other end.
Oh.
We have three people want to ask. Please, we go from the left.
Yeah, so can you show actually the screen possibly that the warehouse manager would see, the warehouse team? Do they get basically all of their work queued up to them in the warehouse so that they get a bunch of prompts essentially from the production processors?
So the question is, as I understand, how the picker picks the work.
Yeah, how is he prompted? Does he have actually a screen that shows?
So we can do a couple of things depending on the setup. The one is that we can basically print all the work that is generated, and we can scan the work IDs as we have seen. We can also create something called work pools, where we group work into the work pool ID. Then we do not scan work ID itself, then we are scanning the work pool ID. So if I'm the one who is picking all day for one of the lean cells, let's say, then I can basically group all of the picking for that particular set into the work pool. And then I can scan that, and I will be served what I need to do. And each of the work has priority. That's also depending on the setup. And it can be changed. So as a warehouse manager or planner, I can say, okay, I can change the priorities as well, and in that way serve. If we are not using work pools, then we can also set up our menu items on the RF devices in the different ways. One, it's more user control, where we scan work ID, and the other can be system control. So as soon as you open item for, let's say, Kanban picking, you will be asked what to do.
So just to follow up then, the image I had was that of job scheduling or jobs that come down to the shop floor. Almost some people have the screens up in their work area where it actually says what they're working on. And in the same way, with the warehouse, could you set that up so that it also basically queues up incoming work?
So yes, we can see overview. There is an overview in the cockpit of the work saying what work is in progress, what work is planned, and who is conducting the work. So basically, at any time, I, as a warehouse manager, can go in and say, okay, I can see that somebody has picked this license plate, and I can see it's a user John, because as soon as you create a user in the new warehousing solution, we are automatically creating a location called user location. So at any time, not only that we know what is on hand on a physical location, also on the movement, and who is the last one who is dealing with these goods. But what we don't have, it's the overview on the RF device of all of the work that you could do, that you then select that is basically done by the work pool IDs, again, served by the priorities by the system. Or we can select on our own out of the printed or known work IDs, as you have seen I have been doing. But for these, if you are very interested in the warehousing solution, please reach me and we can showcase these different scenarios. Sorry?
What we do is we pick all of our work orders with a pick list. We bring all our components up to the assembly line, and we have about, let's say, anywhere from 2 to 50 components within a product. When we report as finished, it consumes the quantities. When what we are seeing here, you're filling in the quantities of product that you had used. Is that BOM consumption relative to those license plates? So if we have a box of 50 pieces and we pick three pieces out of that box, report that work order is complete, rather than having to do anything when we return it to the location, can it automatically deduct from that license plate?
Yes, so when you execute your work, it's actually deducting from the license plate. It picks them. So the start step we showed you is actually going from pick to deducted and bringing the value of the products into your WIP. So I don't know if your question was that...
So it's deducting the inventory from that license plate itself, and then we just need to create a new license plate with the same number but different quantity on it? Or?
It's question, when we have moved to the input location, then we have seen that it's automatically deducted. Is that the question? Yes, it is. Then you are not utilizing the RF gun to deduct for the production. It's automatically deducted and assumed as consumed because of the demand that has been generated against the warehousing or input location itself.
Okay, great.
I have a couple of questions. One related to when you completed that batch order. You inputted the actual expiration date for that quantity. Can you still utilize the batch number of days that you define on the actual released item to drive that expiration date?
No, unfortunately not. So what I showed you here is that you will have to specify the batch number and you will have to specify the expiration date. Those of you who knows the number groups where a batch number can be automatically generated out from a policy or a rule, that is currently not supported. So you will have to scan the batch number and also the expiration date.
Okay,
it's not calculated out from the shelf life days on the product.
So that kind of leads me to a follow-up question. When we talk about consumption of raw materials, can you still, if I'm driving consumption from the batch number, not the location in your scenario, can I drive the allocation of the batch based on FIFO, first expire, first out?
No, in that case you will have to specify which of the batch numbers you are picking. So it's not pointing to according to the FIFO principle.
So FIFO logic is not being utilized within the warehouse management pick logic?
No. In that case, you will have to scan the batch number.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the location profiles, we can select the checkbox batch control, and then we have a strategy called FIFO, first expired, first out, and then picking and allocating will take that in account. And basically also, now I'm talking about warehousing facility, and basically also what you can set up, which can be clever in some situation, if it has identified that it needs to pick up batch 5, because that's the oldest one, and we know all from the warehousing experiences that we can have a location with the 300 pallets, and for some reason, John, who is my warehouse speaker, he has placed that oldest batch behind all of the other batches, and we can set up our RF device to say, I give this person right to overrule this first expire, first out. Why will you do that? Because you don't want to pay very expensive transportation waiting outside, so he needs to move 289 pallets. So then he can scan whatever else. But yes, FIFO, it's supported in this case, but we have just...
Okay, last question, and I apologize for kind of taking over. Back to production, batch production. Your example had a main product with some co-and buys. What about in the proteins industry where I define a planning item, which I'm not producing, and I only have co-and buys? Can we handle that type of completion through the barcode?
Yes, we're also supporting the planning item. So then you're only reporting on the co and byproducts defined in the formulation.
So that is supported with the new warehousing and barcode solution. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does not seem that there are any more questions, but please contact us, arrange meeting with us, and we will be happy to explain even more that UMC today. Thank you very much for listening.